You know, Bram, when you look back at her life, she has had so many experiences and stories and journeys that are so unassuming. I mean, here was a girl from the plains of Texas and then moved to Arizona. And when she was young, she wanted to be a rancher as an adult. I mean, not the woman who she was to this day. And it's so interesting to me that, this was somebody who had a simple beginning and then she catapulted to the very top. What do you think will live on for her? Because there are so many things: legislator, cancer survivor, advocate, so many.
It's a great Arizona story and a great American story coming from this dusty ranch in southeastern Arizona. She's out there working with the ranch hands, and you can see in her later years how it built up her independence. And that's one of her greatest traits and one we like to identify with here in Arizona. I think in the long term, my hope is, given the tenor of our politics these days, and you heard the Justice refer to that in that really well done story that Joe Dana did, my hope is the civics movement that really takes off and breeds a new generation of young people who go into public service and just in their daily lives find a new way to express themselves, a new way to lead, because that's what this is all about.
Yeah. One of my, again, favorite glass ceiling breaking moments for her was when she had graduated Stanford and she called 40 law firms and was just looking for an interview. And one of them, or many of them, had said, "We don't hire women." I think that shows you the path that she blazed and how difficult it was back in the day, and she never stopped. Her tenacity just was unending.
What stands out when you talk to people is her tenacity, her independence, and her intellect. And from her life story, she ran into a glass ceiling, a brick wall among law firms. She still found a way to go around it. She ended up working in a small little office in a strip mall for a short time, ended up, I think, as a county prosecutor, a judge, found her way into the state Senate. And excelled there, really whipping a bunch of men, right, largely male, Senate into shape, doing a very good job of it. She was ahead of them at every step of the way. And then I want to add this: Alfredo Gutierrez, a progressive Democrat at the time who led the Democratic caucus, when she was moving on, you had this conservative Republican grooming a progressive Democrat, Alfredo Gutierrez, to become the next leader, showing him the ropes. Didn't have to do it.
No, not at all.
But she did it. Alfredo wrote about that on Facebook today. I tried to interview him, but he wasn't able. I think there's a really important lesson there.
Yeah. Speaking of leaders, you talked to a number of people who was touched by Sandra Day O'Connor and really felt her impact.
These are people I know and have worked with, talked to for years. I didn't know any of these stories. Kirk Adams, former Republican Speaker of the House around 2010 when SB 1070, the toughest immigration law in the country at the time, was getting national attention. The heat was on Arizona. This is early in 2010. Sandra Day O'Connor has been retired for about 5 years by then. She decides she wants to meet with Kirk Adams. They don't know each other. As Kirk told me, she went through the usual channels to set up the appointment.
Wow.
And there they are in his office, talking, the usual chit-chat. And here's what comes next. Let's listen.
And she just kind of looked me straight in the eyes and she said, "Mr. Speaker, how are you doing?" And you get used to sort of those casual greetings all the time. And I gave some sort of casual answer to it. And she said, "No, I mean, how are you really doing?" And she gave me the opportunity as a young new leader who was inexperienced to express how I was really doing. And it was a stressful time and I wasn't frankly doing that well. And I told her that. And then she gave me wisdom and she told me, about her time as a legislative leader in the Arizona State Legislature. And she just was really good about expressing to me that everything was going to be okay and encouraging me and teaching me how to engage with the controversial environment we were in at the time. And I just really appreciated her kindness.
That was just remarkable.
Yeah.
A Supreme Court justice, a retired Supreme Court justice,
Who
could do
didn't have to do
anything.
that.
Did-
Yes.
And here she's reaching out to a 30-something House Speaker she didn't know because she wanted to help him do his job the right way and get through a really tough time.
Yeah. What a mentor.
Yeah, and I want our next story is a woman whose family were immigrants from Yugoslavia. And she was a Dobson High School senior in the late 90s. Dobson High School had a We the People team, kind of a public, civic affairs team. They won a competition and a trip to Washington, D.C. to meet with, among other people, Sandra Day O'Connor. Dawn Penich Thacker, she's the former senior, told me the story about how excited her parents were as she was getting ready to leave for D.C. Take a listen.
For them, it was amazing that from being, farmers in communist Yugoslavia, that their own daughter could be meeting the first female United States Supreme Court justice who was from the state that they had chosen, who was appointed by the president under whom they became citizens. And so it was kind of this amazing validation of the American dream for my family. And I carried all of that into meeting her when we went. So it was very impactful.
And Justice O'Connor, I was tearing up as she was telling that story.
As was she, you
Yes,
could tell.
she
Yeah.
was. Justice O'Connor also gave her some advice about what to do as a woman who wants to go into a professional career or even politics, and how you need to do it. And Dawn carries that with her to her day as a Democratic consultant.
Wow, look at that. Across party lines,
Yep.
it doesn't matter. Oh, Bram, thank you. I know you have so many more stories coming up at 5-6.